Rosie and Jim, chugging along on the old rag doll. Rosie and Jim, and Neil, he steers the boat. We go to play and have a look with Rosie's bag, Jim's drawing book. The world drifts by the window frame, and Rosie and Jim, we play our games.
Wah.
Rosie and Jim, finding music every day. Rosie and Jim, and Neil, he sings the songs.
Hello and welcome to Jack's Throwback Attack. Well, have I got a special episode for you just for Christmas? My first ever group interview, in fact, and it's with the cast of Rosie and Jim. Puppeteers Rebecca Nagan and Robin Stevens, and also Neil Brewer, who was affectionately known as Tootle by the Ragdolls and was the third and final person to present the show. Now, originally I was going to do this as a video for YouTube and the audio for the other outlets like SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. So I actually recorded not just the audio but the video call as well. Unfortunately, afterwards I discovered the video hadn't recorded properly, but the audio did just fine. So this will be an audio podcast as normal on all of the platforms this is hosted on. Anyway, let's start. First off, I got everyone to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Rebecca and I was Rosie and Jim.
Well, I am Robin, and I am Jim in the TV show, and I was also Duck.
Hello, Duck. My name is Neil, and in the show I was Tootle, and I was going to be called Squeaky Cheeks, but they thought better of it. Anyway, so I presented the program, and I often played a harmonica and sang a little bit. So that's who I am.
Great
you
stuff.
Okay, Jack?
Yes, all good. Thank you very much. Well, thank you all of you for taking part today and agreeing to chat about Rosie and Jim. It ran for, was it 10 years on CITV? Very long time ago.
And live shows afterward.
Oh, yes, live shows as well. So what I'll do is I will ask you a question individually. So what I want to know is how each of you got involved in the show. So I'll start off with Robin first, because I know not only were you involved in Rosie and Jim, but you had a long history with Ragdoll.
Yeah, so I first met Anne Wood, who was the producer at Ragdoll, before she was even involved in Ragdoll. So I met her when she was head of children's at TVAM. Some of you might remember Roland Rat, and she was the person behind Roland Rat. And Roland Rat, David, actually introduced me to Anne. And so she invited me to come and do 6 little puppet skits on TVAM a long time ago. And that was how I first met her and Bob, and the first director as well, Doug. And then when she left TVAM, I went and worked for her doing the first character that Ragdoll ever did, which was Pob. And that he was actually made and designed by my puppet mentor called John Blundell, who taught me for 4 years how to do puppets at kind of puppet college in Cannon Hill in Birmingham. Mm-hmm. And then, I've got an American accent. And then after we did Pob, I think we did that for 5 or 6 years, we decided to do another show. Anne had a canal boat left over from another show she did called Storytime. And she had this boat, and she was like, what are we going to do with this boat? And she had me. She wanted to work with me again. So the kind of things combined to create this show called Rosie and Jim. And, we knew Rosie was going to be called Rosie because on the back of a canal boat, if you look at the back of a canal boat, they have these beautiful paintings, and the style is called Roses and Castles, or Castles and Roses, one or the other. And so we knew Rosie was going to be called Rosie because we wanted them to be kind of the history of the canal boats. And we just kept on trying to figure out what the name of the other character would be. We sat there for hours. I remembered having this long list of Rosie and Sam, Rosie and... At one point, they were going to be called Ebb and Flow.
Yeah. Oh.
Anyway,
Thank God they weren't.
but eventually we just came up with like, yeah, Jim sounds about right. So Rosie and Jim. But I first met Rebecca because I was told to find someone that looked a little like Rosie, and there were very few female puppeteers at the time, let alone someone that looked like Rosie.
Rosie originally was going to be telling Asian folk stories.
Oh,
so
okay.
That was my brief when I came to the interview with you. So my then boyfriend was Indian. And so I went down to his mum's house and said, can you tell me some Asian folk stories? So she did. And of course, when I met you, Robin, we were so busy like, never even got to tell one of the Asian folk stories. That was that.
I told her, I phoned up her college because you were at Birmingham College of Drama School. And so I called them up and said, do you have anyone that springs to mind when I... And they were like, yeah, definitely. You need to meet Rebecca. So I set up an audition in an old church hall with a camera and a TV, just me. And Rebecca came in and she was like, well, I can give you 5 minutes. I think she thought it was all a joke.
Well, it was a little bit dirty old man, wasn't it?
I know. I mean, I can't believe that's how it went down at the time.
You set up the camera on your own and invited young ladies.
And then I asked you to get under the table.
Yeah.
I was the only one that turned up.
So Rebecca was just a natural. I don't think you'd ever picked up a puppet before then, had you? But from that moment on, she was a natural puppeteer from the moment she did it. And she was also, I think we were both good at channeling our inner child. Or the other way of saying that is we didn't grow up. But I don't think that's likely.
We've never grown up, have we? Oh, I hope not.
Well, no, they haven't ever grown up.
Good.
It's a good thing too. The reason I got into the show, a friend of mine, Andrew McCory Shand, I'd recently done some music with him at a church, and he thought I went down really well with the children, and I got a great response from them. And later on in that year, when Ragdoll were looking for a replacement for Loopy Lobes, he thought that maybe because they'd said that they maybe wanted to change from a female presenter to a male presenter and maybe a musician. So Andrew put my name forward to Ragdoll, and I just got a telephone call, which my mum answered. And she was really excited, saying, some people want you to go to an audition. So in any case, I went, I think it was Shepperton that I went to for the audition, and I took it. Hello?
It was Pinewood.
Oh, it's Pinewood. Thank you. And so I went to Pinewood after going to Shepherd's Bush and with my guitar, and walked into a room with all these people whom I'd never met. And Anne Wood was there as well, the biggest boss that ever was. And I didn't think I stood a chance of getting the job, in all honesty. And so I just relaxed. And people asked me questions, and I admitted to being dyslexic and probably would get my lines all wrong, which I did often. But for various reasons which are personal for Anne Wood, and I won't mention it, she took a liking to me for that reason. And the other guys in there, I think Robin was there.
I was.
You were there. And I did say some things that were pretty dodgy, probably, for an interview, as I always do.
What did you say?
Well, Anne Wood started to tell me about the problems she had financing the program and production problems. And I said, well, Anne, that's not my problem. That's your problem. If I got the job, I'd just get on with doing whatever it was. And it didn't seem to affect the outcome at all. And when I left that interview, I actually left by walking into the broom cupboard, and everybody was sort of falling over laughing because I'd used the wrong door to leave. So I suppose they thought I was made for this because they wanted to change the course of the program and make it a little bit more, I don't know, someone who would, maybe go water skiing and have something, a blancmange thrown in his face, and,
that water skiing episode was amazing.
Yeah, the water skiing.
Well, comedy.
And opening of the Tower Bridge, which Robin suddenly had to change everything about the storyline because there I was opening Tower Bridge. Anyway, that's enough about me. I'm going to hand you over to that beautiful young woman there. Well, there's only one there, isn't there? Come on, Rebs. Tell us how you got the job.
Because Robin and I ended up getting on really, really well on the interview day. Because I literally did turn up with my shopping, and then because I didn't quite think it was a real job, and then Robin and I just messed about and did lots of silly voices, and I don't know. It was I don't know. We just got on. That was it. That was all it was, wasn't it,
The
Robin?
chemistry was right.
The chemistry, that's the word.
It certainly was. Rebecca was just, and she'd never been a puppeteer before in her life, and she instantly was exactly right. She just took to it like a duck to water.
Just straight out the air. And...
Okay, then. So next thing I want to ask then. So Robin, so not only were you Jim, but you were also Duck as well.
I was. I also carved duck. There was a moment when we didn't know that it was going to be a duck on the boat. We were looking for a third character, basically, a kind of device between the normal world and the fantasy world that Rosie and Jim lived in. And we were thinking it could be anything, really. And we kind of decided it was a duck, but we were like, well, is it a duck that floats along behind the boat? And one day I was actually spent some time in a library photocopying pictures of ducks, trying to figure out what kind of duck would live on a canal boat. And I was walking away from the library and I saw this carved wooden Indian duck in the window of a carpet shop in Winchester in England. And I thought, that's what lives on a boat, is a carved wooden duck. So I went in there and begged to buy their display duck. And they were like, well, it's not for sale, it's a display. They were like, I've got to buy it, whatever it takes. Then I carved my own version of that. And Bob Burke, the designer, always laughed because I bought this kit of parts to the what do you call the first tryout on a shoot? I've forgotten how to do it now. Anyway, on the very first day of filming, I bought this kit of parts and we had to try and get it working for this first test shoot. And that's how Duck came to be. Yeah, and I did the voice for him after that. So
great stuff.
And operated the thing. Yeah.
Good.
And the flapping of the wings, because it was all
flapping of the wings.
Quack, 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 quack.
Yeah. It
That
was
noise.
originally it was originally kind of operated through the chimney of the boat, but that didn't work out. So then Bob went away and made it wasn't wooden anymore. I think he made it out of other materials, and then it was remote control after that, which made it a lot easier to work.
Great stuff. Well, thank you for telling me that. And what was it like? Because I mean, puppeteering, I imagine, is difficult to do in any situation under tables, but on a narrowboat of all things as well. I mean, what was it like working on a narrowboat? Such a tight, confined space.
But I think, made easier because Robin and I got on so well, and in fact, the whole crew got on very well. So the people that helped Robin and I puppeteer. So Alison and Kate, Penny, all of these people, we actually didn't mind them laying really close to us, did we, Robin and things? No, it was challenging, but it was doable, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there was one wonderful thing we had to do, which was get inside a couch. And a couch on a canal boat is not big. It was basically the size of a fridge. I mean, it's a very, very small couch anyway.
Well, it was like being put into stocks, wasn't it? Because we would lay down on the floor and then this thing was lowered onto us. And then, and then everybody would bugger off and have a cup of tea. And we'd be stuck in it, wouldn't we? It would just go quiet and we'd be going, they're gone.
But we actually learned to take a bunch of chocolates and we had it on a little shelf inside there. So when everyone just left us there for no reason, we would actually have chocolates. So that was all right.
I had to walk over your legs in the introduction when we were filming the introduction. Yeah. I had to make it look like I was just walking normally, but I was stepping over your legs and other parts of your anatomy. Anyway, go on.
No, I don't remember you stepping on us.
No, I don't. I know. And in any case, that was. Sorry, I interrupted there. Carry on.
Neil, it was so much more fun to write for Neil. I'm sorry, Pat and John. May you rest in peace. But Neil was wonderful to write for because he would do anything. You know, he would like he said he would go water skiing. He would have a pie in the face. Whereas the others, I felt like I couldn't really mess them around quite as much as Neil. But Neil would pretty much try anything, really. So we had a lot more fun, didn't we, in those series?
Everything you asked me to do, I did. I rode horses. I did horse jumping.
You did?
As Becky was saying, water skiing, but I went up in a hot air balloon. Walking on stilts, I had to go to a circus school in Hammersmith, and I had to learn how to walk on stilts for that.
I don't even remember that.
I don't. Well, I'm sure we wouldn't.
I do, because when we got there, suddenly the director, and I can't remember which director it was, but he wanted this shot of a window cleaner and me walking past, and I had to put on these 6 foot.
Oh.
And I'd only been walking on 2 foot.
So it wasn't stilts episode. It's not like I've completely erased.
I walked on stilts. Yeah,
but was it an episode about stilts?
Yes.
Oh.
And I actually fell into the top of the boat with, Robin, help me.
I don't. It's funny.
We must have put the puppet legs on stilts. Then we must have done.
Oh yeah, we did.
You
I'm
did.
sure we did.
The puppets were on stilts as well, and because you did
I've
so
got
many
early
strange.
onset dementia. I feel like I don't remember that at all.
No, have another drink and you might remember.
Seriously, what? Hey, okay.
Well, yeah, thank you, Neil, for doing everything that you did. You definitely made the show a lot more fun.
Well, I had to learn to play concertina as well.
That's right. He learned the concertina from scratch that show.
Okay.
No, he's off.
I had to learn to play that too.
Great.
Anne wouldn't let me play guitar. But Robin, I have to thank you for one episode where I think it was called Lazy Day, and you actually wrote it so that I could play a guitar in it. But I did get my bottom in a chocolate cake, I think it was, in the end. But
I remember that one. Yes.
you have to balance it up one way or another. But
we just had a reunion not very long ago, and we met some of everyone in the wonderful design department, as Rebecca was saying, and they were complaining about all the terrible messes we used to leave in the boat.
Yeah.
They worked hard, bless them, didn't they?
They really did. It was a thankless task, really.
Yeah.
We did have fun throwing cake around, didn't we, though?
We threw everything around. Not even when we weren't filming.
and then we would just walk out, leaving the boat completely trashed, and just let them all clean up.
Well, what about the episode when my mom came to visit? There was a tea party, and there was blancmanges and jellies and let's face it, Rebecca was brilliant at passing the food around like that, wasn't she? She didn't stint at the sort of throwing of the stuff.
I think that was Rosie more than Rebecca, really.
It's the same personality. They're one and the same, I think.
Great stuff. Well, another question I want to ask is, you just mentioned it, Robin. For you and Rebecca, what was it like working with John and Pat, who obviously sadly are no longer with us, prior to Neil's stint on the show?
Well, yeah. I mean, the very first person that lived on the boat was John Cunliffe, who used to write Postman Pat, and he lived on the boat for like one series, was it,
I think
Rebecca?
it was 2.
Or was it 2?
No, I think it was 2. It was
2.
slightly longer, wasn't it? And then Pat came on and did 2 or 3, didn't she?
Yeah, and at the very beginning, we were trying to figure out how the show worked. You know, I think it was kind of, we were still finding our way a little bit. So,
I mean, they both brought a very calm quality to it, so that we could be the sort of frenetic ones.
That's true.
And so there was certainly the first ones, there was a really nice gentleness to it, which I think is how come it suddenly got to be so popular so quick, because not a lot of children's programs were as gentle as that.
It had a slightly documentary feel about those first shows as well, and it was longer. It was much longer than we ended
they were
up.
15 minutes. Yeah.
And we always had that time that we had that puppet moment on the table to do something and create something and be silly. That was so they were really great, those bits.
Yeah. No, so John was wonderful to work with, and then Pat was. So John was all about finding a story. You know, for he was looking for a story that day, and he was imagining what he would find if Rosie and Jim could come alive. Ha ha ha. And then Pat was looking for inspiration for her artwork. So that was fun as well, because that kind of influenced the writing, because John was looking for a story and Pat was looking for a good picture for her book. So, but of course, Neil was looking for a good song. So,
still am.
But I think what the difference between Neil and the other 2 presenters is that actually we could do a little bit more comedy stuff with you, Neil, than we could with Pat and John. They were slightly more serious about it, which was fine because we were still mucking about in the background. But actually, we could do
terrible things
to do more exciting things.
Yes, you could mess me up good and proper, couldn't you?
And we did, my darling. It was nothing personal, though, Neil. It was nothing personal. We just couldn't have done those things to John or Pat.
Yeah.
Because
plus, I think they were quite a lot older than you, Neil, as well.
That's true.
Weren't they? There was, and that made quite a difference.
Yeah, they were. Well, I think Pat was possibly 10 or 15 years older than me, but I was in my mid-40s when I was making those shows. So
no way.
I was in my mid-40s, so I'm 70 now. So
you're not.
No way.
Are you 70?
Yeah, of course I am, because think about it. The show finished 20 years ago or something, didn't it? Yeah, so there wasn't a massive difference, but it was more. Surely it was more about their personalities, wasn't it? More than their physical ability to do anything. John always came across as rather serious, and you wouldn't possibly want to be throwing pies at loopy lobes, would you?
That was very delicate, and John was very serious.
Yeah, I mean, when I was writing, I would quite often I would call you, Neil, saying, would you be up for water skiing or whatever, when I was thinking of it. I didn't just drop you in it, right? We had discussed it previously.
Yeah, occasionally.
Sometimes I obviously wouldn't, but I would talk to John and Pat about what they felt comfortable doing, and so that would gear the subjects that we did. Of course, the adult that lived on the boat, they're the person that the children, they're the stand-in for all adults, right? So when Neil, gets a pie in the face at the end, children like that, because adults are constantly putting them in the car and putting a coat on them, and children don't feel like they have an awful lot of control. So it's quite fun for children to see the adult world come to a sticky end occasionally.
It was empowering for the children because the rest of the people, the big people in the program, didn't know that Rosie and Jim were doing anything. Only the children knew that, and so it was always that you, Rosie and Jim, were trying to help me. You were trying to help me, but somehow that help always turned into.
It's true. We didn't.
Yeah, we meant well.
Yes,
we
it
meant
wasn't
well.
vindictive, and you were trying. It was just trying to help me. So in that way, the whole ethos of the program, I really enjoyed it. I didn't mind that I was the fall guy and had stuff happen to me, because I understood why it was happening. And that's what, it made the program really good. People still talk to me about Rosie and Jim. I'm constantly getting people on Facebook saying, "You're the man of Rosie and Jim," and people love it.
It is mad, because I went out last night for gin and tonic with some friends, and I bumped into someone that I went to drama school with that I haven't seen in like 20 odd years. She was with her son, who's like 20 and at university, and she was saying, "Oh, this is Becky," and then she went, "Rosie and Jim, Becky," and it's really funny, isn't it, the way people go, and you go, "That was ages ago." Everybody remembers it bizarrely.
Yeah.
Didn't children used to come up to you, Neil, and tell them that Rosie and Jim followed you around?
Yes, it was a very awkward situation, because no one ever explained to me what I could say, in those instances. And I always used to say, "No, what do you mean they were following? No, they're on the boat." And then they would go on to say, "Well, they talk." And I said, "No, they're only rag dolls. I'm sorry, but I've never heard them talk." And the next question would be, "How old are they?" So I used to say, completely the wrong thing. I used to say, "Oh, they're as old as Father Christmas," because I just didn't know what, I didn't have a script, and there was no.
I don't think it was a question that was ever asked. How old were they meant to be? They were kind of like a fixture and fitting on the boat, weren't they? They just always been there.
I think,
yes.
that was the history we had in our minds, was that, there were these families that lived on those boats in those tiny little cabins, because they were basically the truck drivers or lorry drivers of the day. And they called them monkey boats because people had a bunch of children living on them. And anyway, our thought was that somehow these old rag dolls got left on this boat from historical times. So they'd always been there. They'd been sort of part of the boat. And the lovely thing is, when you look at canal boats now, a lot of people do have Rosie and Jims in the window.
Yeah.
So they actually did become part of this.
There's a T-shirt going around at the moment, and all my friends keep sending it to me. So they must be seeing adverts on something like Facebook or something. Because now we're old and we're retro and we're all sorts of things. And it says Rosie and Jim on it, and they're both old in a gin and tonic.
I mean, because I you might be able to tell from my accent, I'm from the Midlands. I live in the Black Country, and even to this day, you get these buses that you get that take people on pub crawls, and quite a few times I've seen like two buses parked outside a pub. One's named Rosie and one name's Jim, and it says Black Country Tours, and that stuff like that. And also a lot of the episodes were filmed not far from where I live, and I still sometimes go past certain places, and I have to tell people, "Do you know that a Rosie and Jim episode was filmed here?" And people don't know. I mean, I was working not too far from like the waterfront and Dudley and that not long ago, and people didn't know, and I go, yes they did, they filmed them around here, so I'm quite proud of that.
and the boat was made in the Black Country as well.
Yeah, so very
Where
proud
is
of
the
that.
boat now?
It's at Bob's house.
Oh, is it?
Is it really?
Yeah, it was at Bob's house, and it was just stacked up on 10 of his boats, and then he sold it to his next door neighbor, I believe. So we could make another series, guys.
Ooh. There's an idea.
You know what? I would be so up for that.
Okay, yeah.
Why not?
We'd only need to do a week.
Yeah, we should do that.
Oh God.
Okay.
We should do a one-off special.
Just a one-off special.
Yeah, we should, and you could, but you possibly, I don't know if Anne would want me to still be the presenter, but if I was, you could still bring in much more famous people that were my mates to come in just for a one-off, and it could be really good fun.
I wonder if we could do a charity one, for Red Nose Day or something.
Yeah.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah. Now
That
you're
would be
talking.
good. That
Get
would
a
be good.
couple of famous people other than yourselves, of course. Then the ratings would be stupendous, and we could raise a lot of money.
Yeah.
We could have Jeremy Clarkson driving the
If he got a pie in the
bumping into
face,
Richard Hammond on a rowing boat.
You heard it here first.
Yes.
Oh gosh, I mean it's funny you say that about the ratings, because about 8 years ago, when CITV celebrated its 30th birthday, they did a weekend of old shows, and they shown the very first episode of Rosie and Jim, which was the one on the locks, and it trended.
My puppet's like that because I couldn't stand it up straight at
Yes,
that point.
yours. Yeah, I remember that, and also
Yeah,
you can see. I have spotted in that episode Robin's arm behind Jim or something in one of the shots.
Yeah, Robin was infamous for being in shot. Ask any of the cameramen.
But it trended on Twitter.
I wanted to be a performer. I didn't want to be a puppeteer. No.
Well, you managed both.
Yes, and it trended on Twitter, and people were talking about it again. So that was really lovely to see that people remembered it. And I was watching it, and I watched the whole weekend of shows, to be honest, even though I was far too old to be watching it even. But yeah, it was great. And Neil, what was it like having to drive a narrowboat? I imagine you probably hadn't done it before.
Well, I actually I hadn't, and maybe the other two will remember a man called Vin, who would look after the boat all year round, and he was on the boat with me. Possibly Bob Burke was there, and we had a camera crew there because they wanted to see what I looked like on camera, I suppose. So it was like a film test. And I got in the boat, and actually that was the easiest bit, steering the boat, because it pivots from the middle of the boat. So when you're steering, it's actually not difficult at all. What makes it difficult is when you've got a round silver reflector in front of you, so you can't see where you're going, with a camera on a platform on the side of the boat that's sticking out about 4 or 5 feet with two big men on it, Derek and Tim, and then a furry microphone coming up from underneath the deck to hear what I was saying. And I've got to say that the steering of the boat was the easy bit, but trying to accommodate everybody's needs and those needs changed over time. At one point, for most of the first series, I must never look at the camera, and then later on I could look at the camera occasionally and say a few lines, and my favorite line was life jacket on and off we go. And that took me about 3 weeks to learn those lines. I was a bit slow, and I used to say it in a black country accent, and they said, "No, you can't do that." I'm only joking, Jack.
That's fine by me.
The hardest thing was to just try and be normal, which is what Anne Wood told me. She wanted me to just be myself, but none of the directors. Nobody directing the program would ever let me just be myself. They always wanted me to G it up a little bit and make it a bit more, which is not me at all. I'm the most laid back person. I could sleep in a morgue and no one would notice. I'm very laid back and quiet normally. But
you are a performer, though, Neil, right? You're a musician.
Yes, but this is the discussion I had with Penny Lane. She said, "Well, Neil, you are a performer." I said, "Yes, but in a musical sense, I'm a performer. But now you're asking me to act, and that is not the same thing." And so, and Anne Wood never wanted me to act at all. She just wanted me to be myself. But I was never allowed to be just myself, and so I had to learn because I was shy. It took me a while to just. It's okay for you two, because you could be Rosie and Jim hiding, and they could be doing and saying all sorts of things, and you didn't have to worry about. Oh, well, actually, Robin, your face was in it quite a bit, wasn't it? Even if it shouldn't have been.
How rude!
How very dare!
So
I have big hair. Well, I did have big hair.
Yeah, you had big hair. And sorry, Jack, I have really meandered there, but the steering of the boat was the easiest part. It really was a natural thing for me. It was all the other elements of being Neil or Tootle that was difficult sometimes.
Bob Burke, the designer on the show, he was always ready to jump in, and when he saw a boat heading our way, he would jump in and take over, wouldn't he, as well?
Yeah, there were
Not
times.
jump in the canal.
No.
Actually, I never fell in the canal. I never went in the canal.
Robin had a couple of moments, didn't you, babe?
Yeah, phones. He would keep dropping his phones and so people had magnets and all sorts of dredgers trying to get his phones back.
I think it was before Neil arrived, but there was one wonderful moment where I had a walking stick of some sort, or a chair that you sit on, and I was pushing the boat out with it. And I got to the point where I realised I couldn't actually get back. And Derek, the cameraman, was always laughing because he said I was.
It was always the bits that weren't filmed that were the best moments.
I was carrying a briefcase, and they said that it was still floating on the water after I disappeared. Yeah.
I noticed actually there was some pictures that came up recently of like behind the scenes of the filming, and I was just amazed at some of the ways they got the shots. Like there was one picture I saw, and I thought you couldn't do this now, I imagine. I don't know the crew's names, I do apologise, but there was a picture of a cameraman stood on a board hanging out the window of the boat. I'm just thinking, oh my God, you could just fall straight off, or it could snap. It's just amazing how they did that.
Jack, that was normal. That was very, very normal. But that platform is the one I was describing when I was saying steering the boat, with a cameraman on it. And I don't think we ever had any accidents with them on that platform, did we?
We did drop a monitor in the water once, and we all watched because it actually stayed. You could actually see the picture on it under the water for quite a while.
Well, there you go. Yeah, there were probably health and safety issues, but my memory is that they always were very wary about having proper insurance and safety, because we had children on the boat sometimes, so Ragdoll were, they were cautious about what went on, but you can't bake a cake without breaking some eggs, is that the saying?
Yeah.
So I occasionally no one ever feared me being put in a dangerous situation. I was with on a window cleaner about 100 feet up, outside in the wind and everything going on, and the window cleaner suddenly said, "Oh, well, I've got to clean those windows over there," and he started swaying it over. And then I had to catch hold of a windowsill while he cleaned the window, and then it came swaying back. I'm not joking. This is really true. And the cameraman, I think it was Derek, in the building filming us through the window, said, "I better not film this bit."
I'm sure that never happened, Neil.
Yeah. Anyway,
well, you're still alive to tell the tale, Neil. Who'd have thought you'd be here years later telling these stories?
Well, to be quite honest, I loved every minute of it, and I never felt scared or worried that I was in danger, because otherwise, the window cleaner wouldn't still be there window cleaning, would he? He would have gone a long time ago.
Those windows were dirty, so someone had to clean them.
Exactly. Yes, and when they were beautiful by the time I'd finished cleaning them.
Yeah.
On reflection.
I remember as well an episode where you carried down a fireman's tower, like a fire practice, and you got squirted with the hoses at the end. You had to be carried down the ladder, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's wait a minute. Fire engine, fire engine. I had to write a song for it.
How do you remember this, Neil?
Well, I don't remember all the songs, but the fire engine song, I mean, it was just brilliant. Anyway, yeah, again, it wasn't a dangerous situation. I mean, those firemen were, you know, in control of the situation. It was just, there was the whole point of me getting a hose and getting hosed down, which of course was written into the script by my very good friend Robin, you know, and so I got. It was a great
I just thought
story.
you needed cleaning.
Yeah.
Do you remember the lifeboat episode?
Yeah. Yes.
We did the lifeboat.
But I actually wasn't on the ragdoll boat when.
Oh, you weren't?
No, because you had to be saved, didn't you? They had
There
to.
was a
that's
storm.
right.
They made it look like we were in a storm, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was. I can't. You got. I think the ragdoll somehow got stuck on some sandbanks or something, or you got caught in some strong breeze. Anyway, you really were saved. They had to pull the boat back. But I was actually on shore, being filmed, making a telephone call to the lifeboat to come and save my boat. My boat's going off.
Yeah.
So I wasn't. Yeah, luckily for me, I wasn't in danger on that one.
It was quite hard coming up with new ideas for that show because we just had two rag dolls, a boat, and a duck and an eel, and you had to keep figuring out what. I broke everything on the boat and fixed it. And
no, you did really well. You did ask me a couple of times when in the water skiing. You said, "How do we get near water skiing?" And I actually said, "Well, just when a swan is landing." They land and they sort of ski across the water, and that's how we got into that story. And one other story was you wanted to be on the boat, and you wanted Rosie and Jim to be upside down in the boat. And I said, well, it's easy. What you get me to say is I'm going to turn this boat upside down to find whatever I was going to find, and that's how you got into those stories. There was always a way,
because we never had a thought in our heads, so whatever Neil would say, that's how we would just repeat whatever we heard the adult world say, basically, isn't it?
I tried to help in the best ways possible.
You did.
So what I want to ask now is kind of like favourite moments or favourite episodes. What I want to do first is name 3 episodes that stick out for me. I've got one from each era of the show, so if I mention them and then you can talk about your memories or whatever. So the one that I remember the most with John is the one that was filmed at Merry Hill in the Sainsbury's, because that's not far from where I live. So, and I've been there many times, so it's not there anymore. Merry Hill is, but that Sainsbury's is now a Next. It got knocked down.
Jack, I'll tell you something about that episode.
Go on.
So we were talking about Robin's face being in it.
Yeah.
If you see in the trolley, when Rose is in the trolley, there's my face surrounded by pasta, egg. You can see my face. I mean, it's literally like, who's that in there? You can see my face in the trolley.
So you actually got into a shopping cart, Rebecca?
Bob made it. Do you remember? He customised it. So I could lay in the trolley, so the back was cut out so my legs could go over it. It was all on that movable thing. So even Derek was on the end of it. You were pushing it. Your hands were stuck to the weren't they? And it was like your POV of like, and us getting stuff from off the shelves.
The places we went, I mean, we got into the luggage compartment of a light aircraft, and Rebecca and I have been in very small spaces together.
Have we?
The episode I remember the best with Pat, and I remember talking to Rebecca about this when I interviewed her a couple of years ago, and I know that this doesn't bring back the greatest memories, but it was the Christmas light switch on episode at Stratford. I like that one.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. I think I can't, because I turned them on with Tots TV as well. There there was one wonderful realization we had where we realized it probably wasn't a good idea to do a live event with a huge crowd of people and try and make a TV show at the same time, because because the crowd doesn't really like waiting around and the show needs to kind of be right. So anyway, I've forgotten if it was did we actually shoot? Yeah, we did, didn't we? With Rosie and Jim, we actually turned the lights on.
Do you know what? I don't remember. I remember turning the lights on at Stratford, but I remember it more because that was the night my flat was burgled. While I was there up in Stratford. Dear.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's not, darling. It was all right. They just rifled through my knicker drawer and nicked my video recorder.
Well, if you're listening, guys, we want it back.
I want that video recorder back.
As you can tell, Jack, their memories are, they're not very good, are they? That's what we had to put up with in the show all the time. They'd never remember their lines, so they just made up their own.
That's fine.
That was the nice thing. We could actually tape all our lines up next to us, whereas Neil had to remember his.
Yeah. The episode with Neil that I remember best and I like is the music party episode where all the different musicians come down and perform on the bank by the boat for Neil's birthday. Love that episode.
Yeah. There was I actually wrote. Penny Lane got me to write a song for it, which Anne Wood absolutely hated. She hated the song, and so I helped my friend Andrew, who was the he did all the incidental music. I went to him and said, Anne Wood doesn't like this song. And together we sort of cobbled together another song. And it was sort of, wait a minute, if I can do it. Feel like singing a song today. Where is it? Feel like singing a song today. Everybody singing in a band to play. I meet somebody along the way, and we'll all sing along together. And that's I started off with the concertina, and then loads of people came in. The one-man band, I can't remember his name, but he was a nice fella. He came in, and the school children from the band came in, and we had bongo groups, and we had a choir, and then the children's brass band came in on another boat as well. So it was I can remember it was quite a thing to get together, and Nigel was the director of that.
Penny was the producer, right? Penny started off as a design assistant and then became the producer of the show, if I remember. Penny Lane. Yeah.
Yep. And anyway, at one point in that show, I had to go, this is the best birthday I've ever had. And apparently Nigel, it made him cry. He cried because it had been such a tremendous thing to pull together. I mean, all those disparate, groups of people, and somehow or other, with Penny's abilities, Penny Lane was brilliant, wasn't she? And and still is. She's still making stuff, isn't she? And so, that was an amazing program, and people still talk to me about that program as well.
It's funny because I generally, when I think of those shows, all I think of is all the things it took to make it happen rather than, what it actually looked like on the screen. So, all the hours and hours of meetings and preparation. Yeah. and whether it was all going to come together, because you can have an idea, but whether it will actually work or not is it's slightly terrifying when you're spending all that money and all those people's hours and hours of work. So yeah.
Good stuff.
So what was your favourite episode, Robin?
My favourite episode, oh my goodness, I actually really liked that one, Washing Day.
Yeah.
Where Rosie and Jim ended up on the washing line and things. I can't quite remember what happened.
That was funny. I liked things like Big Ben. I liked Just because it was so like weird to be right up in the Tower of, you know, in Big Ben and the Tower of London, you know, pressing the button and things, stuff like that. That you go, no one else gets to do this in their ordinary lives.
And I remember
that open Tower Bridge, didn't we?
In the Big Ben series, you were the first person. I was the second person to get to Big Ben. You ran up those steps. There were hundreds of them. And
it was just amazing. It was unbelievable going up there.
And we were there when it chimed. We were actually
bloody loud.
We were next to the bell. How come we can all still hear anything?
Well, which is probably what has affected our memories, you know. Anyway. But the poor people that had to bring all the equipment up those stairs and then take them all the way down again. That was, I doubt if they probably see it from a different point of view, but I loved all the programs. I really liked the Lazy Day for me because I was able to play a guitar, and there was the other one where I could play electric guitar. You'd rigged it up in a studio. I really liked the one with when my mom came, and it would have just been the icing on the cake, if you forgive me saying so, if we actually used my mum to do it, because I practiced.
Did we ask you to?
No, it was you said to me, would your mum do it? And I practiced that song with her so that we could do it. But the director that was of the show wanted an imposing personality, a big personality, and my mum was only little. So, but in that instance, it would have been really nice to have my little mum.
Yeah, that's just. Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm also sorry.
Right.
Robin, write an episode right now.
We should.
My mom did do some amateur acting when she was younger, so she would have absolutely loved doing it.
Yeah, I can see her doing it.
Yeah. Never mind.
Oh, well.
Never mind.
All the programs had good... what about Bike? I really loved doing Bike. I was doing wheelers on it and stuff. That was a great program too. Loads of them. There's so many.
I don't remember Bike.
The bicycle episode.
Becky, you got me into trouble because you gave me some chewing gum, and it was one of those. I was cycling toward the camera, and Derek said, "You're chewing gum, aren't you?" And you were always chewing gum, remember? He'd say, the sound man would say, "You're chewing gum. Take your chewing gum out." Do you remember?
You could have said no, Neil. You had a choice, my darling.
You're such a bad influence.
I know, you see, some things never change. I think, look, we're all pretty much the same as we were then, aren't we? Just with a few more greys dotted about the place.
Yeah, I don't have any hair at all now.
I think the most amazing thing about Rosie and Jim was the team, wasn't it? I mean, we did 11 years, pretty much. I mean, I know people came and went, but there was a core team of people that were there for 11 years. And, you know, we used to get together, for 3 months a year or 2 months a year? And there was just this amazing floating family because we had a support boat where we would all eat our breakfast, and Jeff would be really delighted to make us all eggs every morning. And he didn't like doing that, did he?
No, it was great. I mean, it was so great for so many reasons, doing it and being part of it. I mean, you know, I'm still in touch with Penny, as you know, Lizzie, Jenny, I'm still in touch with. It's just, you know, friendships were formed, weren't they?
A fantastic opportunity. And I always, you know, when I was on the back of the boat and we'd be going to a destination along the canal, and it was so peaceful, and, you know, it was the best job in the world, really, at that point in time. And they paid us for doing it, you know. Although I got paid in cake and orange juice and stuff like that, but you know, it was a fantastic time. I've got really lovely memories of it all. As you say, all the people were lovely and did the jobs as best they could, and love to do it all over again, really.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Okay.
Rosie and
Rosie
Jim,
and Jim.
Rosie
Rosie
and Jim, chucking a dolly off. Well, you know, it's the only time that you two weren't singing it.
When?
Just then, because on the show, I never sang that on the show. You two always sang it.
Nothing to do with
Didn't
me.
you? Yes,
Wasn't
you
even.
two.
I was just
Jack,
cleaning the bar.
they don't remember anything. I don't. They're on amphetamines or I don't know, but you know.
Alison, who was a design assistant, was telling us how picky we were about how the hats went up. Apparently, there were all these different kinds of hats. There was the slow creep, and she was pushing on this handle, making it all go up and down. And sometimes it would pop up, and sometimes it would, I'd forgotten there were all these different types of hatch operation.
When I was a kid, every summer my parents would take me to Stratford to go to the shop, and the ragdoll shop. It's not there anymore. However, as a tribute, because it's now an optician's, there's still a picture of Rosie and Jim in the upstairs window.
In the upstairs window.
Still there?
Yeah. That shop, the idea to have that shop was inspired, and just. Ragdoll always looked after the children. That's been their focus is what can we do? And they had the letterboxes inside that you could post to Tots, or you could post to Rosie and Jim, or any of the other things, Brum. They did. Yep. It was just such a lovely place to be. I mean,
actually, we have more visitors coming there than the Shakespeare Centre did at one point.
Shakespeare Clue.
Yeah, I've not been that interested in visiting since the shop went. If I'm on it, even though I'm 27 now, I still every time I've gone there, I'm like, it's just not the same. There's just nothing. There's nothing here. There's just all Shakespeare.
About nothing, I think.
Yeah,
we couldn't believe how children are pretty strong. We built all those things out of airplane type strength materials, but they would still break all those things. The actual maintenance job on keeping that place up and running was a lot harder than you would think.
Yeah.
I remember going there one time, and the actual ragdoll boat was there moored up, and I remember peering into the window, and I do believe Rosie and Jim were sat on the sofa. It was just, resting in between filming, I suppose. I guess. Yeah, I remember that as well. But unfortunately, because it was before the days of camera phones, I don't have a picture of it, sadly. But there we go. It was still nice.
You see, that was a nice episode when we did butterflies at that butterfly place in Stratford, and all those huge big butterflies just landing on us. Do you remember that, Robert?
You remember that? Yeah.
That was weird. Well, lovely.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Oh, it's all coming flooding back now.
What are you all up to now then? All these years later.
Well, I'm playing in. I'm still. I was a one-man band going out under the name of Czar. And in the last year, obviously, there has been no live work at all. But I have done some live work outdoors. When the weather's permitting, I do play outdoors still. So I'm still an active musician. I haven't retired. I still love playing. So that's what I do.
I love that. You should never retire when you love something. Because it then doesn't feel like a job, does it?
Yes. Well, it never was a job to me, and I never made money from it either. just sort of rattled along the bottom. In any case, I love doing it. So I don't. While I'm physically capable, I still have my voice. And I can still play the guitar, so I carry on doing it.
I love that. I'm still puppeteering a bit. I'm doing a comedy for Netflix. And I'm looking after 2 teenage boys, which is just hideous, quite frankly.
A lot of work.
You're a mummy.
I'm a mum, yeah.
And Robin, you're in the alcohol business, aren't you?
Yeah, I own a cider company.
I love that.
Which seems like the natural progression after making children's television shows. What you should do is buy an alcohol company, right? That's what I do.
That's the
Can
spirit.
you send us some of your cider?
I will. I'll send you some.
I love that.
And you're out in America now. as well.
Noble hard cider. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you, all three of you, for taking part today and sharing your memories.
Nice to see
Thank
your
you, Jack.
faces, everybody.
No problem. I do have one last request before you go. Rebecca and Robin, can you still do the voices?
Till Rosie and Jim. Rosie and Jim.
Hello, now,
Rosie?
insider. Not something you'll
yeah,
get
I like
anymore.
Because it makes me feel funny.
It's funny, actually, how many people don't know that Jim and Tom and Bob are all the same person. I go, listen to the voices. It's the same voice.
Rosie, Tilly, Tom and Tiny.
Yeah.
Pom.
They're nothing like each other.
Wonderful.
Tom was a very bad idea because it hurt my throat.
Oh, dear.
Before you go, Robin, congratulations on being, getting married, and I hope you're very happy.
Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, it was. We
Long
appreciated all the happy thoughts coming from everybody.
Yeah, that's great.
Wonderful.
Right.
Lovely to see you too, Rebecca.
Yeah, you too, my darling. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. A huge thank you to Rebecca, Robin and Neil there for that fantastic chat. Well, that's it for this episode. I'd just like to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'll be back towards the end of January after a short break with some more podcasts as Series 4 continues. Until then, I'll see you soon.